For 7 years, Emily Harper had faded into the background of her own marriage, a quiet figure overshadowed by her husband, Michael Grant, a celebrated tech mogul whose charisma lit up boardrooms and magazine covers. In their sleek Chicago penthouse, Emily set the table each evening with a single orchid in a delicate vase, waiting for Michael to return from his world of deals and deadlines. He rarely asked about her day, his attention consumed by phone calls or emails, leaving her to clear the dishes in silence. She often thought of her mother, who had faced judgmental whispers for wearing a second-hand dress to her own wedding, yet stood tall with quiet dignity. That resilience was Emily's anchor, even as Michael's gaze passed over her, seeing only the empty space where a partner might have been. At 34, Emily had once dreamed of a marriage filled with shared laughter over morning coffee or quiet evenings reading together. But those hopes dissolved within their first year, replaced by Michael's relentless ambition. His company, a pioneer in AI solutions, dominated his life, and Emily told herself to be patient, that his sacrifices were for their future. Yet, as years passed, she wondered if there was any limit to what she was expected to give up. Michael, now 40, was a magnetic presence, lauded as a visionary by industry insiders. His speeches on revolutionizing global communication drew crowds, his smile dazzling under camera flashes. But at home, in the stillness of their lakeside apartment, Emily watched him become a stranger, mentioning her only to say, "My wife prefers to stay out of the spotlight." She remembered the first time he said that, at a gala in 2018, when she sat in the audience hoping for a nod of recognition. Instead, the crowd laughed lightly, as if her absence was endearing. The next day, her father called, his voice gentle but probing, asking if she was truly happy. She lied, insisting she was fine, that Michael was just respecting her need for privacy. Over time, that lie became a wall she hid behind. Each morning, she tended to the ferns lining their balcony, dusted Michael's shelves of awards, Tech Innovator of the Year, Global Leader of 2024, and recalled her father's words, "Your worth isn't in their eyes, Emily. It's in you." She clung to that when Michael's mother, Evelyn, criticized her for not hosting lavish parties or producing heirs. "You're not what I expected from Michael," Evelyn would say, her voice sharp. Emily smiled through it, her heart armored by years of practice. She tried to bridge the gap, cooking elaborate dinners, suggesting movie nights like the ones she loved as a kid. But Michael was always distracted, his phone glowing with notifications. She'd start the film alone, the screen dimming as she realized he'd slipped into his office for another call. Sunday brunches were no different. He'd join her briefly, skim the news, then rush off with a vague promise to make it up. The emptiness grew, a quiet weight chaining her to a life of invisibility. Friends whispered behind her back, "How does she hold on to a man like Michael?" Or, "He must be miserable with someone so reserved." Emily wore a serene mask, never correcting them, her father's advice echoing, dignity over petty battles. But alone, she wondered if that dignity was enough to justify her fading existence. Everything shifted on a crisp November evening in 2025. Michael was booked for a keynote speech, leaving Emily to attend a charity gala alone, an event his company was sponsoring. She rarely went to such gatherings, dreading the shallow chatter and curious glances, but a personal invitation made her feel her absence would only fuel more gossip. She chose a deep emerald gown, remembering her mother's advice that darker hues could be a quiet shield. At the venue, a glittering hotel ballroom, cameras flashed as she entered. A few recognized her as Michael Grant's wife, murmuring as she forced a shy smile. Inside, chandeliers cast a warm glow over executives discussing investments. Emily drifted to a corner, sipping sparkling water, ready to slip away unnoticed. Then she met Daniel Pierce. At 35, he was the new co-CEO of Michael's firm, known for his sharp mind and unexpected warmth. Introduced by an event organizer, Emily braced for a polite dismissal, but Daniel's eyes lit up when he heard her name. "Elise Harper," he said, as if committing it to memory. He asked about her thoughts on the charity, genuinely listening as she spoke softly about community programs. For 30 minutes, they discussed education initiatives, Daniel asking insightful questions that made her feel seen. His attention was a lifeline, pulling her from the shadows. When he walked her to her car, thanking her for her ideas. She felt a spark she hadn't known in years. The next day, a bouquet of lavender arrived at their apartment with a note. For Elise, who sees what others miss. Daniel. Her heart raced. Lavender was her favorite, though she couldn't recall mentioning it. She placed the flowers on the coffee table, their scent stirring a longing she tried to ignore. Michael didn't notice the bouquet, lost in his endless calls. But when Daniel invited Emily to join a youth outreach project, citing her volunteer experience, she hesitated only briefly before accepting. At their first meeting, Daniel picked her up, his easy grin disarming her nerves. They visited a community center in a struggling Chicago neighborhood, where Emily shared ideas drawn from her work at local shelters. Daniel listened intently, encouraging her when she faltered. By day's end, she felt alive, her compassion valued in a way it hadn't been in years. "You're remarkable," Daniel said as they drove back. "I see why Michael chose you." Emily laughed bitterly. "I'm not sure he remembers." Daniel's eyes softened, but he didn't press. "Maybe he just needs a reminder," he said. Word spread through the company. Employees who'd barely noticed Emily began praising her contributions. Rumors swirled that Daniel called her a grounding force, sparking curiosity. Executives whispered, "That's Michael's wife? She's different up close." Emily felt the shift warmer greetings, genuine interest but guilt gnawed at her. Michael remained oblivious until office gossip reached him. He overheard assistants joking about how Daniel and Emily seemed at ease together, one saying, "No wonder Michael's been off lately." An unfamiliar pang of jealousy hit him. That night, he came home early, his voice tight. "You're working with Daniel?" he asked. Emily nodded, explaining the project. "Is that all?" he pressed. She frowned, unsure of his tone. "Just work," she said. He nodded, retreating to his study, but the unease lingered. The tension peaked at the outreach program's launch party. Emily texted Michael, begging him to come. To her surprise, he arrived, spotting her laughing with Daniel over a shared joke. She glowed in a sapphire blouse, her face alive in a way Michael hadn't seen in years. Jealousy surged as he watched Daniel touch her arm, leaning in to hear her. Crossing the room, Michael forced a smile. "Mind if I join?" he asked, his arm sliding around Emily's waist, a rare gesture. She looked stunned. "You came," she said, relief mixing with wariness. He stayed briefly, his praise for the project stiff, before leaving early for calls. Emily's heart sank, but Daniel's quiet reassurance steadied her. "He'll come around." That night, Michael confronted her, his voice raw. "I don't like seeing you with another man." Emily's pulse raced. "Why not?" she asked, stepping closer. "Because you're my wife," he snapped. She held his gaze. "For 7 years, you've barely noticed me, Michael. Would you care if I were just a friend?" His anger faltered, giving way to realization. "You're not just a friend," he said, voice breaking. "I don't want to lose you." Emily's chest tightened. She remembered trying to share her passions years ago, only to be ignored. Now, another man's attention had woken him. "I'm not sure you ever had me," she said softly. Michael changed after that, driven by fear of losing her. He tried cooking dinner, a chaotic attempt that left the kitchen smoky but touched her. He showed up at her volunteer sessions, awkward among the children she read to, admitting he hadn't known she did this weekly. A company social media post praised her, captioned, "Behind every man is a woman we should have seen sooner. Mine is Elise." Emily's heart wavered, part of her warmed, part resented that it took Daniel's admiration to open Michael's eyes. Daniel, sensing the shift, confronted Michael privately, urging him to cherish Emily's quiet strength. He then stepped back, transferring to another branch to give them space. Emily thanked him, her voice thick with gratitude. "You saw me when no one did," she said. He smiled. "You'd have been found eventually." Emily grew into her role, leading the company's philanthropy with poise. She spoke at conferences, her authenticity earning her the nickname, the Elise Effect. Michael supported her, though he sometimes slipped back into old habits. Each time, she reminded him, "Balance is a choice, Michael." He'd nod, determined to prove himself. At a global conference in 2026, Emily delivered a powerful speech on empathy-driven corporate impact, earning a standing ovation. Michael waited backstage, tears in his eyes, embracing her publicly. "You were incredible," he whispered. As they stood together, She reflected on their journey from lonely dinners to this moment of partnership. A bracelet he'd given her, engraved with equal, gleamed on her wrist, a symbol of their renewed bond. But questions lingered. Did Michael's change come from love or fear? Could Emily trust his transformation, or was it sparked only by jealousy? Should she have chosen her own path instead? Share your thoughts below. Did Emily make the right choice staying with Michael, or should she have walked away? Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of quiet strength rewriting the rules of love.